right, thanks for having me. Well, good to be here. Doesn't seem like it's that long ago that I was here. And walking out Tommy Hall has been 20 years ago now. So I had my 39th birthday last summer, and so doesn't seem like it's that long, but it's been a while. So, but it's a great college, and it's fun to be back. So I'm going to be very brief about kind of get to know me a little bit, but I'll be quick. Get to know the company a little bit, and I'm going to be quick there because I ran out of time last time, and I'd rather talk about some more educational nuggets than how great our company is. So, like I said, I'm Tim Garry, graduated in 1994. I'm married to a education major from St. Ben's. Her name was Tracy. She teaches second grade. I have 3 children, daughter Molly, son Joseph, and son Michael. They're range in age from 3 to 8 years old and keep us busy when I'm not at work. And we like Austin. And I've been with Hormel. I had my 10-year anniversary presentation a week ago Monday. So that was a fun day, and it's good to have that, a good accomplishment for me. But I didn't start my career with Hormel. I am a graduate of dietetics from St. Ben's. So I'm a registered dietitian, and I worked the first 7 years of my career really in the long-term care industry. And so I managed kitchens, and I managed the clinical, the nutritional status of people in the geriatric communities, making sure they had enough to eat, making sure they weren't getting too much to eat or too much salt, or some of those things that were, the pharmaceutical interaction was kind of heavy, so you managed they had the right foods that didn't react wrong with their medications, those type of things. I transitioned to selling to nursing homes and long-term care centers after 7 years there. So I was kind of an expert in what the needs were for those facilities. I began selling to them through a broker. A broker's doesn't really belong to any manufacturer, so I sold several manufacturers' products to long-term care centers. But the predominant product line I sold was Hormel Health Labs, which is a little section of Hormel no one knows about, but designs a bunch of food and supplements and thickened foods for geriatric centers and long-term care centers. So I got a job with Hormel Health Labs. They took me in selling a nutritional enteral feeding, like a tube feeding product. But shortly thereafter, we acquired another company, and they needed more people in marketing. So I moved to Austin to market long-term care products, supplements to long-term care centers. I did that for about 3 years. So it was my first exposure to marketing, and that was a different industry of marketing, where I was more in the food service channel of business. So the Cisco's and the Reinhardt Food Service, or Gordon's, or there's one in St. Cloud you see right on the Highway 10, Appert's. So in that industry, and then I jumped over to consumer product sales. So now I sit right next to the Spam guy, the chili guy, Dinty Moore Stew. Those are all my coworkers that do what I do. And I concentrate on the microwave meal world. So this is what kind of has owned me for the last 3 years. And that's really what I want to talk about today. So there's a couple, I'm going to blaze through these facts. But $6.5 billion company. We're a leader in many, many brands, which is important. It gives you security on the shelves, and your grocery shelves. We've been around 120 years. We're all over with operations and offices in the United States. So all of you who apply, there's plenty of exploratory opportunities out there. We've made several major acquisitions. Diamond Crystal, you might notice, is usually on where you see it as big salt bags for your water softener. That we don't own that, but at one time was the same company. That's just a piece of it we didn't buy. But a lot of salt packets. We pack the Splenda, individual packets of Splenda is a Hormel product. Jennie-O Turkey Store is about a fifth the size of our total company. So Jennie-O is a big part of our company. Many people don't know that's a Hormel company. Farmer John's makes the Dodger dog. It's huge in California. These guys do proteins. Country Crock, you'll see those little tubs. They make butter. We didn't buy the butter. We bought mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese. So we bought some of these acquisitions. You kind of pick and choose. But the Unilever, who we bought it from, didn't want anything to do with these guys. They just kind of extended the brand. It worked. We own the rest of that well, so we thought, why don't we own this part of it too? So it made sense for us. This is kind of how our company's built. We got 5 major segments of business. I'm in the grocery products, which we're proud to be kind of by dollar, much more margin, have a great margin compared to the meat guys, the turkey guys, specialty and international. But, it's ultimately a very balanced portfolio. We are pretty consistent performers in grocery products. We always return good $162 million of profit. We're going to don't tell the stock market this, but we'll do that again this year, and it'll be announced in the next couple of weeks. It's been, when the meat guys suffer, we're often do have a good year. It's kind of a balance, and it's kind of a magical scenario. And sometimes even within the meat they suffer in our operations, meat can chop up meat pieces and make money that way. So they're balanced within themselves. So it's a really strong company. Rarely do we have a bad year. You can see there's been some rough economic years. Not all food companies are this positive. We've done a really positive job. One of the divisions we have is a booming food service business. Food service has tanked in this economy, but yet we've done really well overall. We have almost $1 billion segment of our company within meat products. It's food service, but meat products, that consumer just started eating at home, and we traveled with them, which is what we want. Widely recognized as a great company in many areas. Very inclusive, very environmentally friendly. How happy our employees are. We do a survey every 2 years. Very, very well regarded. We still have pensions. We have 401ks. We got fantastic health. It's a great company. State-of-the-art plant we just built. Uses all the water. All water that's used here is used twice before we get rid of it. It's gold certified. Very hard to achieve. It's gold certified, and as far as environmentally friendly. So that's a little background fast. So we kind of get to a story about innovation, and at the end of this, if I have more time, we can take questions. I got a goofy commercial here. I could go write down the P&L, which has a lot of considerations in what my job is and what marketing does. So I'll start off with just kind of my job a little bit. As a product manager at Hormel, you're into operations, you're into sales, you're into research, you're into development, you're into design of coupons and communications. You got to figure out how to communicate right internally so you can move your products. I want this vice president on my side. How am I going to sell him? I got to get operational groups like design groups for label design. What does it look like? How good is the food photography? To chefs and food technologists to make the product right. So I work with all those guys to get that going. We work with the consumer research group to say, well, in Tim Garry's opinion, this is cool and it tastes good, but who cares about Tim Garry? Does the consumer like it? So you work with consumer research to facilitate and conduct qualitative researching and quantitative testing to make sure you're on track with reaching the goals you set out. Then it kind of turns into, you get into the sales. So we have like 360 people in our sales force. Next week we're in Houston for a national sales meeting where you educate sales, you continue to educate sales, you work with sales. All the customers have different requirements on how they might execute a display or a sale, what coupon rules are. So you work with different customers, it's not like one size fits all. So you might be calling the Walmart guy one day and the Target guy the next day, and making sure that you're meeting those customers' needs, because it's often thousands and thousands of pounds of business, and it's a hassle to customize stuff per customer, and it's inefficiencies on our side, but it's, when it's thousands and thousands of pounds of business, I can't say no a lot of times. So I'll get yelled at by the operations group or the logistics group saying, no, we don't put that stuff on our trucks without a purple label. We want a pink label. And well, they don't take purple labels. And then you kind of go through, not like that simple, but it's kind of that storyline a lot. So the story I'm going to tell for a little while today, and I'm going to watch my time a little closer, is how do you get a new product to market and why? So in the late 90s, this product, Kids Kitchen, did about 22 million pounds a year. We were making good money on it. Well, the cost went up. Cost went up probably 25%. Volume started going down. You needed a lot of support. We couldn't really afford to market it and still make money on it. The consumer, we talked to the consumer over and over about this cup, and they said, well, it's service of need. I hot food fast, and I can give it to my children, no problem. But no matter what I did with this cup, the consumer said, I don't want to pay more than $1 for this cup. So when volume's going down, margins are going down, costs are going up, consumer only wants to pay $1. What do you do? So you evaluate the product, you backtrack, you say, what What about that product's good? What about it's bad? How can we get more than a buck for it? And we identified this as really not offering much point of difference over Chef Boyardee. And so we understood we got a problem here. This product that we don't make any money on, even when we don't run commercials, doesn't have a point of difference if we did run commercials, so we wouldn't know what to talk about. So we needed to figure out what the direction is. Because this audience, this family, this is a 3 to 5-year-old, is important to our business. It's a family member we want to reach. We do a good job reaching adults, but this little kid audience, this is a pretty unique audience, and we want to be in that household because we know there's 2 kids in that household. We know it's a lot of times traditional family. They buy a lot of groceries. They're good for grocery stores. So what do? You got a product losing money. You don't have a point of difference. It's an audience you want to be a part of because it's a part of your franchise. We don't really have any Spam's not really marketed to 6-year-olds or the mothers of 6-year-olds. Spam's marketed to everybody in the United States. Chili's marketed at football games for college. It's a different segment. It's like a 100% incremental business to the rest of our business. So if it goes away, it's just gone. It's not rolling back into Chili. So it is an interesting and an attractive audience for us because it's purely a new customer. So when this started going downhill, people are like, well, how are we going to address this audience profitably and meaningfully? We don't want to just throw something that's out there that's not going to work or that we think we can do it, so let's do it. We want to make sure we do it right so we can drive a value. We deliver a point of difference consumers want, and so we can charge $2 on something that maybe costs the same to make as that, and we can stay in business. So what do you do as consumer research? We start with, like I said, with qualitative research, and we really dig into this model. This is a model that really is it seems so simple here, but there's a million questions on every box that really, it's like, so I have 3 to 8-year-olds. Do I want boys or girls? Do I want white boys or white girls, or do I want Asians, or do I want Latin Americans, or does it make a difference? What do I want? Income levels? Who is this? Who is this target? Do I want it after school? Do I want to be ethical after school and at lunch? Do I want to be better for lunch than dinner? Do I want to be, how long should it take to cook my product? What do the consumers want in here? I mean, so it seems like, the situation, well, it's an after-school snack. Well, after-school snack can be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it can be last night's leftovers if you want it to be. So the importance of doing this is you carving out a storyline, you're carving out a position against competition, but you're also figuring out where are the cracks in what's being offered right now. So one of the kind of questions you might ask at this stage is if Denny Moore beef stew wasn't in this world, in this package, you eat it in 90 seconds, what would people eat? So start at kind of where do you fit in, where does the competition fit in, what are they really looking for to fill that problem? So you start detailing the true benefits to hot or cold, how long to cook it, is it easy to clean up, do you cook it on the stove, do you cook it in the microwave, is it frozen? And for these situations, what do the products offer now and what do they lack? Or what are they doing well that we should catch up or try to do better? And really digging in to those. So we, in this project, where it's a microwave project designed to reach kids for 3 to 8 years old, we went into every bucket and said, even like the basic part. I remember the first meeting after we kind of decided to go, not kind of, these decisions are like critical and you got to work hard for every little decision. But we decided to make this healthy. That was our line in the sand was, it's going to be nutritionally better than what's out there. Our head of consumer research goes, there's $1 billion of Happy Meals sold every year. Do parents even care about healthy? Why do you want to go there? It's like that's a fundamental question that is awfully easy to get assumptive about, right? Of course parents care. If you looked at the organic baby food, is some of the highest organic sales of all organic foods is baby food. So they care more about nutrition for the kids than they do themselves. Of course they care. But it wasn't. That's just like a unrelated category opinion with a different audience. But so they care for 3 to 5-year-olds when there's $1 billion of Happy Meals sold every year? I mean, think about how much mac and cheese is sold. Think about, do they really care? Is it interesting? So you get into the details, and it's a process. This is kind of developmental process, internal, and it starts shifting to external for us. And I know you've talked about gates. We have changed this. I didn't have the slide with me, I'm sorry. But now this is a wheel because there's so much failure up here. Your assumptions, knowing what I know from this project, they're usually wrong. And when they're right, it doesn't mean you can make them. That's really what I know here. So a lot of times there's dates. Hey, we want to be out of direct by Christmas. We want to be out of this by Valentine's Day. We want to be out of this for St. Patrick's Day. We're going to have product ready to go by the 4th of July. And come Halloween, we're going to be on the shelves. But what happens is the ideas here were not a bullet. It was a shotgun. So you got 50 ideas here. And it's by design. You're supposed to have 50 ideas. So then you take what you think is maybe what you can do the best, what the consumer sort of you want to talk to. You start narrowing down here, and then you think, oh, so you might take 10 concepts or 10 sort of thematically ideas that meet this occasion, this 10-minute lunch or a 5-minute lunch or a breakfast or dinner. You start trying to steer that thing a little bit. Let's steer them this way with this product, this chili, super hot chili for football games only or whatever. And then you get voted off the island. And then you're back here saying, well, there's another 10 ideas. But now you're not at Christmas anymore. You're at Valentine's Day to get out of here. And, going here, we're trying to, so you're already behind. And you do that twice, and then all of a sudden you realize this idea of getting to the shelf by Halloween, you're crazy. No way, because you don't even have an idea. It takes, once I have a formula in my hand that I know I want to make, it takes me 3 months from that day to get a product that's in a package. And then from the time it gets in a package to get through my warehouses and get to the retailer warehouses to get on their shelves is another month. So it's an incredibly long process. And this, instead of being linear, what we really changed to, because we were really this way just a couple of years ago, is that it almost forces bad decisions if you really want to stick to what you committed to at the beginning of the project. So the project said, hey, I'm going to be at Halloween, and you're going to get paid for it if you get there at Halloween. But I learned back here, my idea was really bad. Does upper management really want me to pay me to proceed with a bad idea so I can be on the shelves at Halloween? It doesn't work. So this is a circle now. And it kind of spins out ideas. And the whole thing is as wide as you can get it to narrow, and as tight as you can get it. And as soon as you get it tight, you have a stronger story. We start qualitative. We do a lot of focus groups, talk to a lot of people, a lot of conversations up here when it's broad. Then we go to quantitative and test it, and then we'll maybe go back and forth a little with, like, hey, with taste testing and some of that qualitative stuff. So we did all that. We flushed it out. For this group, we flushed it out. We looked at 3 to 8-year-olds. They're a stable population. They have a lot of nutritional problems. Parents it's important to parents to get there. They use the microwave a lot. They eat a lot of meals in their house. So that 5-year-old who's not a full-time student is really our center. 4 or 5-year-olds who are not in the school but eat more meals in their house. So we flushed all this out on they eat like 2.6 more meals than a 6-year-old, because 6-year-old's a kindergarten and a full-time may have breakfast and lunch. So what appliance they use. So they use the microwave the most. Let's see, we got the nutritional curves were evident. We talked to Mom about what convenience was. Mom said convenience is, the Happy Meals. I use them all the time. The problems were most of it didn't make me feel very good about a provider because it was just functional food. It filled the belly. It solved the problem of my child being hungry. But it didn't make me feel good about offering a nice, nutritious meal. It certainly wasn't home cooking. But I know I need it. There's a space there, and it's not going away. There's swimming lessons. There's soccer. I'm a part-time. Every story of life you got. I'm a single mom, whatever it was. but they all was very consistent. The people we talk to, though, we should have expected that, and we usually do, because we don't really want to talk to you if you only eat organic food, or if you only eat food out of your garden, because we know you're not interested. You're not going to be all things to all people, but there's this category of convenient meals for kids we dug into, and we know it was significant enough that it's used, and it's the size of the prize is worth going after. So convenient situation where mom's getting tired of macaroni and cheese and noodles all the time. We looked across categories. These, a lot of these things, you guys who ate kid cuisine, Lunchables, you guys eat those growing up? I mean, kid cuisine is a $100 million business. SpaghettiOs is a $100 million business. Easy Mac went to a $100 million business in about 3 years. Unbelievable. Lunchables isn't on there, but Lunchables is almost $1 billion business. So we evaluated that whole market size. We looked at what they wanted. This was an early kind of assumption slide. So we went back in and had these conversations over and over to make sure we were up there, going down the right track. The assumption here, though, the assumed problem was, mom wants convenience she feels good about giving. So she needs convenience. This is the dollar. She's happy with $1 right now, but she's not elated with it. It solves a problem for her. If she can get in that emotional, I feel better about it, we thought that's where the value is. So that's where we started to go. And we always talk to mom. We screen moms do 85% of the providing at home. Moms do like 85% of the shopping. She is the CFO, the CEO of the home more often than not. I mean, it's very traditional roles there are still very strong. So we do our best to talk to mom. We evaluate the situation. We don't want to, and this is a little different. This is kind of a traditional side, but we don't want to cannibalize something if we don't think it's going to outperform that product or make more money than that product. So there was probably fear at one point that, the launch of chicken and dumplings completes. This is different. This is for adults. May interfere with the sales of beef stew because it's still that same occasion. But so you evaluate the incrementality. Does this franchise go from 5 million to 10 million, or does it go to 7 million? But this is now 4 million, and this is 3 million. So, and if you had a third one, does it go to 9 million, or does it go to 8 million? But all these are 1/3 as much as they were. So you want to obviously be as incremental as possible. There's 33 of these, though. So obviously the incrementality has gone down. But we saw incrementality probably up to 18, and then we just rotate the less popular flavors. But so that's a lot. That's a lot of variety for that, just to see incrementality. So you want to grow. Ultimately, we want to grow. Take the people who use you now and get them to use more of you would be one reason for a new product, or to get new people. And in this product, we're not sure if we're going to get more of this, but we're going to make more money than this. We want these people. And we're afraid of losing them, and we want to keep them and be meaningful. So we're kind of trying to control that franchise just a little bit. We did a deep dive into these players. And some people have done, so you want more people or more occasions? I've done them in miracle jobs. And this isn't the same, but there's an Easy Mac version or an Easy Cup like this. This is the blue box. It's been around forever. They own this blue box category. They say, hey, it takes 12 minutes to make it. It's a pain. Well, they came out with this version, or these are just little packets. You guys probably all have them in your houses or dorms. Now you can make it in 5 minutes. You don't hardly need a pan. You need a microwave. Well, they didn't have that business 10 years ago. Now it's a $100 million business. I mean, brilliant, right? Probably not as good, but guess what? General Mills jumped on. They created a $20 million business of Hamburger Helper, the same concept. They had these franchises. They're really old and mature. They flattened out. What do? You got to get more people to meet you at different times. So instead of being A family dinner, they went for a lunch or an after-school snack, and that's a whole different, that's ours now. They just grew that much by this product. It didn't affect their dinner business. So it's fantastic incrementality. Some products that didn't do as well, this is gone. This didn't last a year. Lunchables Junior. And they had a really kind of a touchy branding situation. That's not why it probably failed. It was probably too expensive for a little tiny bit of food you got. But kids want to be older. If you're 4, you want to be 6. So Lunchables is a franchise based of kind of kindergarten to 4th graders. Is probably their meat and potatoes for Lunchables. Well, I don't want my diaper-wearing little brother to be eating Lunchables like I am. It's not as cool. So that was kind of a risky one. It's out of the market. I think it was a bad value for the food they got, but not necessarily the branding. But a little riskier to go down with your brand than it is to go older. And that's we did the same thing, but we went way down. And what I'm talking about today. This was a fantastic move by Gerber. Gerber owns grocery. They own the baby food section, right? Well, they lose all their customers in 12 months. They have to replace them all because people start eating real food. So how do they do that? They graduated from Gerber. They got graduates. Now this product itself isn't that great of a business, but it does 10 million pounds. It's probably $30-40 million in sales. But they got all these toddler foods. Kids nibble on these kind of melt-away things that stick to their chin. They got sippy cups. They took that brand and made it sort of this I'm not a baby anymore brand. So parents are like, that's cool. My guy's not a baby anymore. And they really stuck to it and got it. So there's some nice expansions off core markets that's completely incremental. So great stuff. But we dug into all these things. What are these guys doing? So they're pitching convenience here. They've changed in the last 2 years to pitching nutrition, the vegetable content. They've really got a fun kid element to it. So this website, you should go check it out. It's kind of fun. It's like avoid the splat. They've done a really nice job. ConAgra is, they're not our friend. But we compete in the grocery side with ConAgra a lot. They have a chili. They have a, Healthy Choice is their brand. So we compete against Healthy Choice. They entered our market. One of our executives is actually over there. Went over there in the last 3 years, and he's coming after us. So we're very passionate about beating ConAgra. Some of your parents probably work there. We do come up once in a while against General Mills. Some of your parents may well work at General Mills, but Progresso Soups kind of dabble near some of our meals and have tried. Failed on a test launch in Cincinnati last summer. We were happy to see him fail. But we watch these messages. What are the consumers talking about? This was very important in my project because this fun food for kids that never was about nutrition, $800 to $1 billion brand, all of a sudden starts saying we're good for you. Has nutritional facts. They start launching turkey. If this brand that looks like a cartoon on the outside of it starts trying to take itself serious and starts pitching nutrition, there's enough consumer interest that guys that we don't have any dream that we're going to be $100 or $800 million brand, but there's enough consumer interest even to pick up the table scraps is probably significant business. So we understood the size of the prize of nutrition is getting big enough for the monster to pay attention to it. That's important. Kid cuisine, we did a lot of research in kid cuisine. We talked about this is a 110 million pound business. It's for a quick meal occasion, just like these things are. Like mom doesn't want to cook. Well, kid cuisine helped us a lot by what they weren't. Mom, it was classic. Mom has never given her kid one of these things, ever has a mother given their kid one of these things. This is the equivalent of candy for your kid. And there's no way in the whole wide world that that's the truth, right? But mother after mother allowed the babysitter to give these products to their kids. And the kids got it as a treat because the babysitter was there. Well, I mean, $100 million business, there's consumption all the time. But mom emotionally spaced this as basically candy for dinner. And it was the opposite of what we wanted. But the passion and the consistency that said, this isn't even food. This has a vegetable in it, but the food's all corn dogs, bad chicken nuggets, macaroni and cheese, a brownie with sparklies. All the marketing is super fun, which is great. I wish I had this much money and this much fun in our project, but it took the sincerity of the nutritional offer and it dropped it significantly. And mom thinks it's candy and would never use it. We know she's using it, but she doesn't like using it. So then we stopped and said, okay, what's out there that's sort of the other side of that? What are people talking about? What do moms want? What are they looking at? What are the trends that'll help us steer this? So fortification, these guys hid vegetables in their juice. This was right away, $15 million by Nestle. Nestle's a monster, owns Gerber. So we got this caused us a lot of interest. Like, they could get into our world, not just baby food, but Nestle hiding vegetables in microwave trays, that could get in my world. So very, very curious in their next move. Watch Nestle closely. This is, they had like, the 100 calorie pack, so they basically started doing it for kids. So calories, is there enough child obesity in the world that we're worried about calorie control for kids and that level? So we flushed all this out. We talked to a lot of moms, rated these concepts, and kept going. We had at least 2 rounds of focus groups. We did a quantitative pre-bases online. We went back to do some taste testing and some in-home use tests. Taste test last June for like 600 kids, 3 iterations, like 75 kids a variety and 4 varieties. And so to really make sure your food's tasting right, so we did a lot of research, talked to a lot of parents, get us to flushing out ideas. We wanted them to flush out ideas. So our early qualitative work, we started talking about nutritional sort of platforms. And it sparked our interest. I'm going to go back and forth a little bit just because today's presentation is a compilation of several presentations. This book, which is kind of published first, there's a very similar book published by Jerry Seinfeld's wife, and it sold 1.2 million copies. So I took that and I said, okay, so who's buying that book? Is the household penetration of that book for the audience? And it was fantastic. It was like 7 or 8% household penetration of all houses in the United States that have 3 to 8-year-olds. I mean, to buy a $25 book. Like, there's that many parents. Because to the question, do parents care about nutrition that we talked about a little bit? I had to prove that. I had to make sure I had a case that said, yes, they do. So one of my reference points was this book, and it helped me a lot. It's like, you got a 7% household penetration on a $25 book that's teaching parents to hide vegetables in food. I mean, it's a crazy amount of sales. So this is one of our concepts was, with sneaky vegetables in this entree. And this one's a different shape because we were out of space in all of our so I had to go to a different manufacturer to explore it. But the winner of all this was right here, because parents didn't want to trick their kids. In my house, we serve vegetables. My kid's got to eat a vegetable. And if I give them that, I'm breaking my own rule. I'm not being a good mom. I'm not being a good dad. That's not going to do anything for me. I'm going to put a carrot or an apple in front of that kid because that's how we do it in my house. And it was consistent. So this slide, this is the money slide. This is probably a $300,000 slide. Very obvious things to most of us, but we proved all this out, saw all of it out, tested it all out. Moms want household harmony. They want to fight their kids. They want vegetables and protein in their meals. They don't have time to cook, and that's very consistent. Kids want to be important. They want special. They want fun. So individual meals was always an appealing option for kids. Elements of fun, like labels with games inside them, like websites. That was for the kids, and that scored big. So we kept that in our developmental process and made it front and center. We hit a lot of roadblocks to get. We took this after we got here, because all these things, as you can see in the table, we had one of these sort of in mind going into a research step, hoping it was going to work out. Often, it didn't, or it either worked out and we couldn't produce it, or we could produce it and it didn't work out. So that's where that iteration comes, and that's where it's really hard to get into this gates where you're actually going to market. So we started with an executive, big shot, like not just a normal executive, he's top 3 guy at Hormel. He's in the 10K book every year saying, put the damn stuff in a tray, right? So we have this business right here. It's growing as faster than we can make them, actually. In 2007, we have a meeting. I go through all the value propositions potentially for this, and I'm like with kind of unbelief myself saying, we're not getting a lot of love for if this is organic or all natural or with omega-3s. It feels like we're running out of, put the damn stuff in a tray because it's growing. We didn't have any capacity. That's why the shape changed. We had an idea. We did the concept test we just talked about. The Trinity Meal 1, parents want vegetables. So we wind up here. That's not the one. Here. Well, it's cute. It's cool. It kind of looked like that Gerber one, only we could do it a little better. Gerbers were terrible. But very much a challenge for us, right? So we had to buy special equipment or modify some equipment we had. This tray is very, think about it as a can. It really is a can. It's just plastic. But to get this seal just right is very much a science. So we back flush a nitrogen gas. There's an exact temperature that seal is placed on, and there's an exact amount of time. And you're doing these things at 160, 240 minutes. So you screw that up, this top doesn't come off, or it shreds when it comes off, and you got a lot of problems. So to add another element in there, that if you got grease or drippings and it's not going to seal right, a lot of operational considerations here. So we got it, though. In our R&D, at least we got it. We had machinery that was modifiable, that wasn't cajillions of dollars, but it was, we had about $150,000 investment if we wanted to do it. And we were kind of pulling the trigger, but there's enough lead time where you can unpull the trigger, thankfully. We learned that we wanted corn and, kid favorite stuff in the one side. So we did spaghetti and corn. We did quantitative testing. The pre-bases gave us combinations we should develop. Corn was less polarizing than green beans or carrots or squash or something like that. So we did that, got this ready. We tasted it, tested it with people. We have a FBI's little taste center in Plymouth, Minnesota on Highway 55. And the vegetables were not good. One, consumers liked the idea. I'd buy 5 a week, one lady, or several, like the quantity of purchase. You get that information on these quantitative tests. How many would you buy in an average week? 4? There's like 3.2, which is off the scales in the quantity of purchase. Well, the problem is, spaghetti, you gotta, just like at home, or a canned vegetable is manufactured. It takes about 14 minutes to cook a canned vegetable. SpaghettiOs, this product we cook for, I want to say 54 minutes, something in that range. Well, for food safety rules, there's cold spots all over. They figure that exactly out, and you got to cook it to the longest spot to make sure it's all safe. Well, the corn needs 13 minutes. The spaghetti needs 54 minutes. 54 minutes of cooking destroys the corn. This process doesn't work. We spent months trying to get this baby to work. It doesn't. So now we're going up a different direction. So then you go back to kind of your rules. Your rules were mom wants household harmony. She wants better nutrition. The convenience is there. She wants good value. The kid wants important. The kid wants to feel important. How do we get there? So when this failed, we knew we had a vegetable. We knew there's things in the market that maybe we could partner up with. So we went grocery store. We did Cub Foods in Coon Rapids. We put these 4 options out on the shelf. Like one was kind of down here all alone, just in the SpaghettiOs, and then behind some noodle boxes after somebody would pick it up and put it in their shelf, we'd grab them. Come down here. Thanks for opting into this test. We'll give you $20 to Barnes & Noble. No, you picked it up. Thanks. But what if this was on the shelf, this was on the shelf, this was on the shelf? This has got one vegetable cup in it. It's corn with an entree. This is a kid's kitchen cup with corn, like that kid's kitchen. And we use the cartoon to kind of sell the kids a little more flash. So a new element, more fun. This has got fruit and a vegetable and the entree. Out of 45 people, 38 picked this. So one person literally was shoving 6 or 7 in her cart. And it's the most expensive, so we were a little surprised. So as of March, I want to say March 1st, we were close. I had to make a decision with operations to buy like $200,000 worth of corn from Asia. And we didn't pass the botulism test. So we nixed the whole product. The corn quality, we did do a home use test. This product is available in grocery stores right now. That's where we got it. We did a home use test, and the corn tested as low quality anyways. We sent our QC people over to China to test, make sure it was safe enough, and it didn't pass. We would have had to pass Hormel specs. We would have had to cook it another like 10 minutes, which is only going to make the corn worse. So the end of a lot of research, a lot of iterations to reach this vegetable, to reach this whole foods meal solution. We couldn't get through the, we found a good space, perfect space. We couldn't get through our own QC. It wasn't safe enough food. And that's certainly, in our company, I mean, you'll hear recalls. You haven't heard one from Hormel, and it's not a coincidence. I mean, we're very, very diligent. So, so this is gone. So then we went back. How can we do our best? Know what we can do the best. What elements do we need to do? So we went to this tray, which is a 7-ounce tray. Went back to some conversations we had about what moms want. And they wanted, first is convenience, always convenience. But that's no value over Chef Boyardee. But they wanted a cleaner, healthier meal they felt better about. So we cleaned up the label. We took MSG out. We took high fructose corn syrup out. We dropped the sodium. We made the USDA has a set of rules to be healthy. So we made it so they met those rules by the USDA. But in addition, we added fiber, so it's a good source of fiber. There's a lot of custom stuff here. This is actually costs as much to make, even though it's 3 ounces less, as this does. We had to use custom meat blends that are lower in fat. So the meatballs are turkey meat, some leaner pork, some leaner beef. The raviolis have leaner beef and leaner pork. So we clean them up. Our ingredients that are not like MSG or salt are more expensive. So salt replacing, to get the flavor that salt gives you, is twice as expensive as to give you salt. High fructose corn syrup is really cheap. So we do put a little sugar in our product, but it's table sugar. That's probably a negative mark on us because there's a lot of sugar consumption. But it's been a good product. So what we did, we got to the product, and then life shifted for me on what I concentrated on. So I had a deadline. Once we got here, we talked, of course, to Walmart. Walmart sells more groceries than anybody phenomenally fast, and there's no slotting. They give you, if they want you, you're on the shelf for free. So it's very appealing. They say, yep, they saw it instantly. Yep, when can we have it? So they said, we need it middle of October. Which, to make a label, at that point we hadn't done any taste testing. So we developed 5 products. We tested them all June with iterations, kind of like a tournament bracket, like ravioli A versus ravioli B, which one won? Ravioli B versus ravioli C, which one won? And to get to, okay, that one's going to market. Well, every iteration changes the nutritional profile some, the order of predominance ingredients some. So it takes 12 weeks once you get that done to get to market. So we were 4th of July finalizing stuff so I get there, because it takes a while to get, it's a month from the time it runs off the line with this label to the shelf. Because it's got to get through my warehouse, it's got to get through their warehouse, it's got to get through their back of their store to get to their shelf. So this has been on the shelf for about a month in most Walmarts. And a lot of work. But, so as a product manager, it changes. So you go from worrying about development, consumer insights, applying all those things to selling it. You have to sell it to the retailer, and you have to sell it to the consumer. So for the retailer, this is from our retailer presentations, like, we made it different. Look at all the areas we different. And here's how it's different compared to what's out there. We're healthy. Everybody else is high fructose corn syrup or MSG. We made it significantly different. And look, it's a great value. Now, you notice this was important, because if people went and said, hey, this is $1, this is 7.5 ounces of $1, you're $2.19, who are you kidding? Well, it's time. This is where research started coming back up. Like, so when we were in Coon Rapids, we were asking, hey, when this wasn't in your house, what did you eat? And there's a Happy Meal, Lunchable, Kid Cuisine, the frozen thing. If they didn't know the name, they'd, you know. We started hearing about meals versus snacks, and snacks were $1, and meals were often $2 to even $5. So you set the value differently. Even though, yes, it's very similar, like if you empty this out into a plate and you emptied some of this out on the plate, it looked the same. Quantities are about the same. This is much more expensive to make for us because we did go to the details of ingredients, but it looks the same. So we had to set that value, and it was important. So we sold to help sell onto the retailer, not the consumer. The consumer, they needed to see that too. So that's what I've been doing a ton lately. One of the other details that we go through, though, is these DSMPs, distribution, shelving, merchandising, and pricing. So we want four items in distribution everywhere. We wanted it shelved in the so with this dedicated microwave set. Sometimes you'll see advertising telling you where products are in the store. Some of the ConAgra did that. Like this is in the soup set. Because consumers don't know where you are, the more you can have a destination, the more often you can get on a shopping list. That is very critical. So we get that where we want it exactly. We actually got a test going on right now in Walmart because we want to know, do we sell better when we're with canned pasta where people are intended to go to feed their kids, or with adult food where people are already very accepting of microwave meals. So my hunch is we're going to be in the microwave meals and we're going to cherry pick off a franchise that we're there for their kids. How many times we want it on sale, how are you going to promote it? So your merchandising, we'd love secondary displays. We did 2 years ago, we had a huge push for the completes on secondary displays. Household penetration was up about 1.5, which is a massive amount. So there's 120 million households in the United States, and you gained 1.5% of them. That was fantastic. I mean, you can't. That's worth millions of dollars and millions of volume. So that's fantastic. And these are the price points we want you to hit regionally: 2 for $5, 3 for $4, depending on how competitive your market is in this category. We want it set exactly below the trays, above the cups, and next to the 15-ounce cups. We want consumers to see it as a value to these trays and not as like expensive next to the cups. Even though you're close, the idea is that you're going to kind of track it as a tray, and you're going to say, oh, that one's $2, and that one's $3, and that one's $1.75. So the consumer. So I've got a budget to make sure people notice this product now that it's on the shelves. So we have, and it's a small budget. It's just tough to, our world, we are smaller marketing budgets than the ConAgras of the world, than the Lunchables of the world. But we've got good relationships with our retailers, so we get a lot of displays, and that helps us get awareness. So this is a coupon. This coupon will go to 45 million houses in the United States. We just got this, all went through our legal department, make sure we're not telling any lies. It's supposed to be kind of a practical yet emotional question. So does the question engage you as a mom? What do you do with your healthy, active kids? I think we changed it a little bit to they're ready to grow and you're on the go. What are you going to feed them, or something like that? It's a little less wordy than that, but something like that taps into the child's need and mom's providing. So very emotional. We want the kids active. We simplified our messaging. So before we got here, we were here. And then we said, this is a little more fun. It looks kind of cool, good colors. But you don't read anything. There's so much on here, you don't see anything. So we stripped it down to healthy food for kids. But that went to the president of the company. I mean, it went very high. These are details that have to be decided. You have to position, kind of support. We have a product line, a healthy version of this that we've learned from, that people don't read any of the details. They don't even know what it is. It's green. It says healthy on it. It has less sodium, blah, 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 blah. Nobody reads it. So we stripped it down. In store, we're going to have shipper displays. They do really well, like I mentioned. Big floor coupons in front of the aisles. Those things cost, nationally, we're going to spend $300,000. These coupon machines are about $500,000. This will give you a coupon on the shelf, and that doesn't include the redemption on the coupon. So a coupon like the FSI, like you see in Sunday, this will cost me $138,000 to get in 45 million households, and there's whatever the value of that coupon is, we expect 1% redemption, which is very low, but it goes to everybody, so we know it doesn't apply. Every coupon that goes through a clearinghouse adds another 15 cents. So ultimately, it's $500,000 to run a coupon in this category. It's different by category, but that's about what we have. And that'll change by value. And you can do other things with coupons too. You can, like for a new item, obviously you want to go get trial. You want people to try me. So I'll probably have $1 off two, more aggressive offer. But if you know you're going to reward your user base, you might go, 55 cents off 3. General Mills does save $1 off 6 or something. They're just supplementing their users. But it's very intentional what you're using. Why you're doing a coupon needs to be very intentional. These are just tactics to interrupt the shopping. Our media, the highest group of internet bloggers and users and communicators and social networkers are my target group, are the moms of 3 to 8-year-olds. They have the highest usage. So we're actually using this She Speaks as kind of these leading moms that talk a lot online. They have kind of a connected network where we'll take it from online into in-home parties, into like a Twitter party, or GNO. I think we might use GNO, which is Girls Night Out. And they have these Girls Night Out parties, and they'll talk about cruises, and they'll talk about makeup, and they'll talk about, but they pick a topic, and you pay for all these. This is a $250,000 program, but has an opportunity to reach 10 million moms in a meaningful way where I'm not saying it, the bloggers are saying it. So to behind the scenes, I'm helping the bloggers, though I've already scanned the bloggers in a survey that said, how do they like us? What are they saying? What do they usually say about products like mine? Let's make sure they know about us and get them to blog. So it's not completely pure as far as like randomly this woman is saying this is the greatest product in the world, but we're not telling them what to say. They still say what they want. But you do want to make sure that people are going to be friendly, get your product in their hands, and this keeps that dialogue going. So getting the word out to the right people, and that's the charm of this, is targeting. Is if you can target a group of people, it's a lot more effective than these wide nets that you cast to grab people. So I don't have any TV. Completes is you'll see Completes. I signed yesterday like $12 million worth of agreements on Completes commercials. So they'll be on and off all year long. We have a little website for kids. It's just kind of a continuation, an animated version of what's that inside of that panel. We're going to have a sticker. The stickers are being printed and tested right now. And the sticker will go online. We'll put it right here, and the kids can put it on a poster, or put it on their hand, or have fun with it. So a little fun. But for 10 million of them, we're paying $395,000. So it's, in our world, and I'll get to that just a little bit. Maybe I'll jump back there. So we had a lot of fun, but we have our P&L to worry about. So gross margin is price minus cost. Gets your gross margin very obvious, right? Well, coupons are in there too to a price. But the segment profit is when you start $395,000 for stickers, $250,000 for She Speaks program. I got above, to reduce your gross margin, I'll have $850,000 of coupon liability, if not $1 million. So your money goes away in a hurry. And this product didn't have a chance. It didn't have a chance. It was barely making gross margin. And if it's barely making gross margin, you haven't even shipped it yet. So to sell it, pay your sales field, to pay your operations, to pay your QC, you got to spend good money. So we monitor cost. I'm involved in cost. We're in charge of inventory. We're always looking for different beef cuts. We're changing the beef cut in something. It's going to save us $1 million. Chili, we sell 140 million pounds of chili a year. That's like, I can't remember how many trucks we talked about, but a little change in bean costs is millions of dollars. So we've got forecasters on beans, on corn. We're one of the biggest salsa manufacturers in the United States. We're in a joint venture with Herdez. We have Chi-Chi's, we have El Torito. People don't know that, but so the price of tomatoes makes a heck of a lot of difference to how much money we make. So we're involved in price and cost. You want to keep that gross margin, whatever, as strong as you can, so you can support your product with stickers, with coupons, with commercials, with radio, with online blogging, with billboards. I'm trying to think what else we do. Events. So you might go to a Gopher game and get coupons. Somebody, we used last year we had a Chi-Chi's party at every Mountain West football game. So these guys on Segways with big Chi-Chi's hats and red Chi-Chi shirts were handing out, free coupons for Chi-Chi's, and they'd kind of go invade the crowd and the tailgaters, and they just like little mosquitoes all over. But all those things are fun to drive segment profit down, and that's what you get bonused on in my world. So the more segment profit I can return, the better I get paid. So you got to watch it. I mean, and the company needs that segment profit to grow and to invest in other things and to invest in your ventures too. So you can return on that investment, you're good. It's kind of fast and a lot. Question? Good question. It's a real process. Depends on the group, but there's groups. There's several vendors who have databases. So we use a lot of taste testing. I mean, like it's right off 494 and 55 in Plymouth. They got a big database. They have probably 50,000 people with a lot of their psychographic, demographic information. So they can say, oh, it's chili and this person is kind of a meat eater. So we use agencies. And there's big agencies and little agencies, and there's good agencies and there's bad agencies. Because really a bad agency is someone who gives you the results you are asking them to give you. A good agency says, thanks, we understand your story. We'll field this, and we're going to give you it as we see it. Because bad news is often going to save you millions of dollars if it saves you from a bad decision. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question because you need to think some of the strength of your idea should be on that secondary question. What's next? If this wins, what's next? Because if you can see already what's next, it may say this is a platform we can grow off of. So is what's next soup or something? I don't know. But so right now I've got a project for him. We have 4 varieties now. I have 4 varieties that we're starting. So he's like next week I'm going to taste like pinwheels and meatballs. So more varieties is important. So we want to be a shelf. We want to have that 4-foot set of 7 items. And we'll keep iterating on the product. So there's sort of internal and external. So what's next is I'm sure I'm going to need to communicate this more and more and more. And I'm going to be my presence of 250 online. I hope quadruples next year. So I have 4 or 5 She Speaks programs. So I get that trial out there. At the same time, I need to look at the product and make sure it's quality, but it also, if we're right now like the spaghetti to get going, I've got 8 50-year-old gals on the line, 8, they're hand placing them. We might automate some of that stuff to just make sure that we can cost contain. So internally, you always want to look for maintaining your quality but improving your profitability. So what can you do there? Those are the short term. The long term would be maybe this tray and this concept of healthy food, I can figure out a way to get it to 13-year-old kids so they can plow through one before supper. I'd call it, dynamite snacks or something. And there's another $10 million business, and it sits on the shelf and we make it and takes up our capacity, makes us more efficient as a company. But you still got to be able to talk to people, so that's another element. So. Other questions? Everyone wants to work for Hormel now? We are at the career fair, and we'll be interviewing tomorrow. And she said, I came up with an HR person this morning. She said there are a few more opportunities than there has been in the last couple of years. It is a great company. There's a lot of opportunity. I mean, obviously they took a dietitian and let them market. So, you know, it's good people, good company. That's a fantastic question. We first, it's like, what does your brand stand for? So we were going a long time, and probably, yeah. So these are Kids Kitchen, right? So we turned the corner, kind of right here, to Completes Kids, because Kids Kitchen didn't mean anything to anybody. So our brand diagnostics, and you pay people to give you these. They'll go get a screening. What does this mean to you? And it means nothing. And in a little bit of a disconnect, a lot of people thought it'd be like, okay, let's teach kids how to make muffins in the kitchen or something. Which, you know, so and that's the opposite of really what it is. This is presto food, and it almost seemed like roll up your sleeves and have them cook. We've made a corporate effort to get completes. This isn't often in focus groups. People say, I eat those meals. I put in my purse. There are those meals. I think Hormel makes them, they say. And then so we made an effort. We're making an effort to get people to say, I put completes in there. So give it a little more brand. And completes is supposed to say it's one-stop shopping. It's a very quick, complete meal. It's, you know, it's not a vegetable. It's not a Trinity, so maybe a little overpromised. But it does get the point across. It's not a bowl of soup, which everyone thinks is incomplete. This is real food, real fast. So part of what Mom wanted was a complete solution to a quick meal, like, you know, telling the babysitters the blue box thing was a one-stop shopping solution. So knowing that completes is somewhat of a complete promise, it's a solution that doesn't really require much else. We did hang on complete, and we put Completes Kids. And the other thing, you know, there's a big gap between the adult user and a 5-year-old user. So we weren't going to alienate anyone in the middle saying, oh, that's baby food. I mean, really, there's nobody that's 8 and under really eating completes. Even teenagers is very, very limited consumption. So we weren't too nervous about hanging kids on the completes and alienating the people who are in the completes franchise. And we did think about that, but those were the considerations. Yeah. Yeah, we tested everything on this, from like the should this be yellow, should it be green, to the font, to the colors on the kids, to the type style on the kids. So these two type styles are different. This kid's has a little smiley head for the dot. We went down and talked about it. What we really wanted was to be pleasing to an 8-year-old, because if we went younger, we couldn't go older. So we really wanted it to be more pleasing. So we had reservations and have reservations about the color of these multiple colors. Still, it's kind of being kindergarten-ish. But we did test it, and we talked about it. Parents actually, it gave it enough energy that it was still like, that's just kid. It's got the kid energy. It doesn't necessarily have 4-year-old kid energy. It just has kid energy. So the blue, should it be green, should it be purple? I've seen it in every color. We've had, and it's expensive. The labor, the design for these projects, this product, the research was $18,000, and the labor was $18,000. I mean, it's like, that was a 6-hour research project you spent $36,000 on. So you want it right. So we had all these in sheets of paper, and we had moms circling. I like that it shouldn't say kid approved. That doesn't mean anything to me. Bubblegum could be kid approved. It should say mom approved. Or, you know, all these slogans and all these pieces of, I don't want it to say omega-3s on there. It's got to say, just talk to me about the stuff I know about. That makes it sound like medicine if you get to, you know. And what we really heard was, I don't read much at all. So we stripped, and that was one of the final decisions. And I really encouraged us to go just down to the button. That was, a lot of these label decisions go up high and high. This one actually went to the CEO, and I said, I look at this label, and I almost get sick to my stomach. There's so much stuff going on. You got brand, descriptor, claim, free activity. Then there's weights, and there's the USDA marks. It's like there's 15 fonts on here, and finally it's like, I have a brother who's a designer in California. I emailed him to it, and he's like, you got 8 fonts on the front of that thing. I feel like I'm getting sick to my stomach looking at it. And that's when he allowed me to communicate better about it. Like, we need to make this feel fresh and welcome and easy to read. Strip it down to the bare essentials, because the product, we did that too, and it really reflects, so the green's kind of a fresh color, the healthy is a green because it's a healthy color. The activities, if you're going to go healthy, surround it with activities and physical activity that often are associated with healthy. I mean, this food guide pyramid has a little guy climbing up a ladder, so let's bake that in where we can and get some of that activity. And so even the claims, we had to go round and around the USDA, but there's no high fructose corn syrup in here. But the USDA can't interpret their own rules in some regards, so there's no MSG in here either. I can't put that on my label, though, because there's 2 different rules, and one had, we have autolyzed yeast in here, which we have 2 cans of chili in the office with the same ingredient deck, but two different labels on it. One, they're both private label, and the USDA said do it this way once and do it this way once. So we're still worried. We're still working on getting MSG claims on here, but we don't have it in the product. But there's just rules about autolyzed yeast that are similar to MSG, so you can't say MSG if you have autolyzed yeast in some cases, and we can't figure out what the some cases means. There's no high fructose corn syrup in here, and that got nixed. So there's no claims. So we wanted those on there, and that was a lot of work. You go back and forth to the USDA. Before it gets to market, the USDA kind of has to bless it. It's like, okay, you're right. Everything you say in there's okay. And healthy is one of those things where it's got to be fat and sodium and good source of a couple like vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, protein, fiber, 2 of those things. So lots of detail on what goes on that label, and we fight for more. And a lot of times we wind up being less because it's just you got about half a second for communication. Yep. So part of our P&L is trade management. So there's marketing budget, which is buying coupons, buying commercials, buying radio. Trade management is like, here, sell the product. So when you see 99-cent Cheerios or whatever, it's not because Coburn's is a good guy. It's because General Mills gave Coburn's $1 for every box of cereal. So when it was $1.99, they got it down. General Mills sent the check out. Okay, now it's 99 cents for the weekend. And sometimes Hy-Vee or Coburn's might ask, we want a deal this weekend on Cheerios. Give me the money. So that rolls into my budget, and we usually kind of in a macro way saying these are, like we went through the DSMPs. I talked about distribution, shelving, pricing, merchandising. So we sort of set rules that say, hey, we don't want to ever see this at 99 cents, ever. It's got to be 2 for 3s, 2 for 4s, 3 for 5s. But the sales could do that if they want. We give them the liberty to make the deals and drive the product. We try to make them the tools and the rules. But that's really my biggest marketing money is given to sales to go run deals at specific retailers. So Walmart's going to come back. They've doubled the number of stores where they have TVs on display. It's like that's like an $80,000, $90,000 program to be in that spot that gives you an end cap. So I expect come Easter, I'm going to have to come up with $80,000 because I'm going to be in 1,300 Walmarts with an end cap display saying, hey, this is healthy food for your kids. we have like, people will have tent sales and BOGO sales where they come back at you that they don't, you've given all this money, they still don't have enough money. So you need to determine if it's on strategy, can you afford it? If they do it with somebody else, like across the street who sells groceries too, that you want to have everyone love you, but would they get mad if they see you at 129? So they're very competitive. I mean, if there's Walmart and Hy-Vee and Cub Foods, they all hate each other. I mean, it's very competitive. And so, and it's not public, it's very public information, right? All these guys have, in every newspaper, you open it up and here's the deals of the week. So like the Walmart buyer, our sales will walk into Walmart and say, what the hell's going on here? How'd they get that down to 169? I got it at 175. I'm the biggest retailer in the whole world. How is that possible? So you gotta be very careful. So, because she doesn't like you, next time you get 3 more items, she goes, you're going to sell it across the street too cheap. I don't trust you anymore. There goes 500,000 pounds of business. So it's not just Walmart. Walmart's the big monster, right? So it's easy to talk about them. But there's all sorts of regional battles, whether it's Kroger or Publix or Safeway, H-E-B in Texas. I mean, there's a lot of competition, and you really got to play that. There's a Sarbanes-Oxley kind of rule that says we're going to treat everyone equal of manufacturers. But it's a really tricky rule because it should it or shouldn't it go into my marketing funds? So if there's 3,000 Walmarts and I it's 25% of the grocery stores in America are Walmart, and I run a commercial, who's getting the most who's getting the most for my money? Well, certainly Walmart is, because they're 5 times as big as the second biggest retailer. So ultimately, I'm giving more marketing to Walmart. So it's Sarbanes-Oxley, which says treat everyone equally in your trade by channel. There's a little flexibility in by channel, but if it's ultimately the same channel and your marketing servicing Walmart 5 times as much because they have 5 times as many storefronts, is it really fair? And it's a complicated and delicate, and people go to jail if they screw that up.